Everyone in the funeral home froze. The loyal German shepherd wouldn't stop barking in front of the soldier's coffin, his eyes locked on the still body. At first, people thought it was grief, but then the dog did something that revealed a miracle no one could have imagined. The funeral home was wrapped in a heavy silence, broken only by the soft hum of air vents and the muffled sobs of mourners. White lilies lined the edges of the room, their fragrance mixing with the faint scent of polished wood. At the center lay the soldier, dressed in his crisp military uniform, his medals glinting under the warm lights. His still face held the serenity of a man who had given everything in service. Family and friends filled the room, their expressions a portrait of grief. A little boy clutched his mother's hand, staring at the coffin with wide, confused eyes. Veterans in uniform stood at attention, saluting their fallen brother, while an elderly woman dabbed at her tears with a trembling handkerchief. The quiet weight of loss pressed on everyone's chest. Beside the coffin, a German shepherd lay on the floor, his head resting between his paws. His amber eyes never left the soldier's face, as if waiting for him to wake up. He let out a soft whimper that echoed through the room, drawing a few sympathetic glances. No one questioned his presence. He was part of the soldier's family, his loyal partner in life, and, seemingly, in death. A sudden, sharp bark shattered the stillness of the funeral home. The German shepherd had risen to his feet, his body tense, ears alert, eyes locked on the coffin. Mourners jumped at the unexpected sound, some instinctively stepping back. A ripple of whispers spread through the room as the dog barked again. Louder this time, his deep voice echoing off the walls. At first, everyone thought it was grief. Dogs mourn too, they told themselves. But there was something different in the way he moved, pacing, pawing at the edge of the coffin, his nose pressed against the uniformed chest of the soldier. He whined, then barked again, refusing to sit still. The air in the room shifted from sorrow to unease. A few family members tried to calm him. "It's okay, buddy," one whispered, reaching out a trembling hand. But the dog pulled away, circling the coffin with a sense of urgency. His tail was stiff, his muscles coiled like springs. Guests exchanged uneasy glances, unsure if the loyal companion was merely heartbroken, or if he was trying to tell them something. Somewhere deep down, an instinct stirred in everyone present. This wasn't just mourning. This was a warning. The room fell into a hushed tension as the German shepherd's barking grew more insistent. Every sharp sound seemed to bounce off the walls, wrapping the mourners in unease. The funeral director hesitated by the doorway, unsure whether to intervene or let the loyal dog grieve in his own way. But the dog's behavior didn't feel like grief anymore. It felt like urgency. Mark, the soldier's best friend and fellow officer, stepped forward. He had served alongside the fallen hero for years and knew the dog well. "Easy, boy," he said softly, crouching down. But as he reached out, the shepherd leapt toward the coffin, planting his paws against the side, his nose pressing frantically against the soldier's chest. His whines turned into sharp cries, filled with desperation. Gasps echoed in the room. The little boy clutched his mother tighter. "Mom, why is he barking like that?" he whispered. No one had an answer. The tension in the air thickened, each passing second dragging longer than the last. Finally, Mark met the eyes of the funeral director. "Open it," he said, his voice low but firm. Whatever the dog was trying to say, they had to listen, because instincts like his were never wrong. A heavy silence filled the room as two attendants approached the coffin, their hands trembling slightly. With careful movements, they lifted the lid, revealing the soldier's peaceful face. The German shepherd immediately jumped closer, his nose brushing against the uniform. He whimpered, then barked once more, a sharp, urgent sound that made every heart in the room skip a beat. Mark leaned over, scanning the soldier's body. At first, nothing seemed unusual. His friend lay still, medals glinting faintly under the soft lights, the very image of solemn rest. But then, a faint rustle drew everyone's attention. Mark froze. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, a small movement stirred against the soldier's chest. Gasps erupted among the mourners as their eyes fell on a tiny, fragile German shepherd puppy nestled against the uniform, its little body trembling as it squirmed. The dog's insistent barking had not been for sorrow, it had been for life. The puppy let out a faint whimper, as if sensing the room's astonishment, and nuzzled deeper into the fabric of the uniform. Tears welled in the eyes of those gathered. In that sacred, silent moment, grief was joined by awe. No one had expected that inside the coffin, a miracle had been waiting. For a moment, the room seemed frozen in time. Mourners stared, mouths slightly open, struggling to comprehend the sight before them. The loyal German shepherd nudged the tiny puppy gently with his nose, letting out a soft whine that carried both relief and pride. It was as if he had been guarding this fragile life all along, waiting for someone to notice. Mark carefully reached into the coffin, his hands steady despite the tremor in his chest. He lifted the puppy, cradling it against his uniform. The small creature whimpered and wriggled, its warm body pressing into his palms. The mother dog sniffed her pup anxiously, then licked its tiny head, a gesture that melted every heart in the room. That a wave of emotion swept through the mourners. Tears that had once been for grief now flowed with wonder. Someone whispered, "It's the miracle." The little boy, still clutching his mother's hand, broke into a hesitant smile. The air, once heavy with loss, now felt lighter, filled with a sense of divine intervention. Mark glanced at Rex, the hero dog whose instincts had saved a life. In that instant, the funeral was no longer just an end, but the beginning of something extraordinary. The once somber funeral home now carried a different energy, soft murmurs, teary smiles, and the quiet whimpers of new life. The German shepherd, chest heaving, finally lay down beside his tiny pup, his eyes filled with a mix of exhaustion and relief. It was as though he understood that his mission was complete. Mark gently handed the puppy to the soldier's widow, her trembling hands wrapping around the fragile creature. She pressed it close to her heart, sobs escaping her lips, not of sorrow this time, but gratitude. He wanted us to find him," she whispered, glancing at the loyal dog who had never given up. Outside, the sky had cleared, and a golden beam of sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the coffin and the small puppy in her arms. Mourners gathered closer, some kneeling to pet the faithful dog, others whispering prayers of thanks. The heavy shadow of grief had lifted, replaced by a profound sense of hope. As the service concluded, the family decided to name the puppy Miracle, in honor of the extraordinary event. And as the loyal dog walked out beside his family, tail wagging gently, everyone present knew they had witnessed something truly unforgettable. In the days that followed, the story of the loyal dog and the hidden puppy spread like wildfire. Local news stations picked it up, and soon, people across the country were talking about the incredible moment when grief turned to hope inside a quiet funeral home. Strangers sent letters, flowers, and messages of love to the soldier's family. Moved by the courage and instinct of the faithful German shepherd, the family found comfort in raising the tiny puppy, now named Miracle. Every day, he grew stronger, chasing sunlight across the living room and curling up beside his heroic father. The widow often said that the puppy carried a part of her husband's spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, life could find a way to shine through. Mark often visited, and each time, the loyal German shepherd greeted him with calm eyes and a wagging tail, as if thanking him for listening when no one else did. The bond between man and dog had saved a life, and in return, inspired countless hearts around the world. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story of courage, love, and the miracles our loyal companions can bring.